Tighten your lines as we get ready to sail the seven seas on the Political Pirate Podcast. Join Captain Ted Yoho and the salty dog John Martin as they search far and wide for the greatest treasure of all, the truth. From local Florida news to nationwide stories and the globe beyond, we've got it all mapped out. Now here's your hosts, the salty dog John Martin and Captain Ted Yoho.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Three Ps, the Political Pirate Podcast, with the old salty dog here, John Martin, as your host, and the captain of our pirate ship, none other than Mr. Ted Yoho. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Good Monday morning there, John, and don't be so hard on yourself. You're not that old salty. You just salty.
Yeah, well, my little granddaughter still calls me like old man booty. Because when I had the operation a couple years ago, my wife had to help me take a shower because I couldn't get it wet on my back of my leg there. And so my little granddaughter, she was only about 4 at the time, she looked in there and said, "I saw Papa's booty."
Grandpa booty.
Yeah, and my wife said, "Yeah, that's old man booty." So she still calls me that, Ted, old man booty every day, which is pretty descriptive.
Yeah, it's pretty descriptive. Out of the mouth of babes.
Well, we got some great news for you today. First of all, as we've been telling you all along, we need people to like what we're doing, share what we're doing, certainly support what we're doing, and financial help to keep this message going. And I've been telling people to call Freddie, and somebody did make that call here just this past week, and we've got a brand new sponsor, Archer Automotive. Ted, I know you know the people there really well. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, Richard Fiegel and Cecile Fiegel, their family. I mean, I've known them for almost as long as I've been in Gainesville. We came up in 77. But Archer Automotive is somebody we take our vehicles to. Even still over here when I live in Willac, I'll make the drive over there just because, number one, they know what they're doing. They charge reasonable rates. And they can work on anything from gas to diesel to transmission, brakes, anything you need on a car or vehicle. They're the quality people. And the thing I like about them is the trust. Whatever they tell you, it's what it is, and they stand behind it. They've been in business for over 20 years, and we welcome to the Political Pirate Podcast sponsorship. We appreciate it. But understand this, you don't have to own a business to be a sponsor. Support us by spreading the word around, and feel free to send in, a donation or something like that to keep us on the air. Because I tell you what, we are in a fight. As you can see, what's going on with the divide in America, it's more important than ever to educate this base coming up, this new block of voters coming up. This will be their first election, to educate them on the dichotomy in America. You've got what's going on the liberal progressive left. And all we'd have to do is we'll go back and talk about the Biden era and what happened in 4 years. And of course, this all came out of the Obamanization of America when Barack Obama got elected. And I know you've got that one video of the former president, and that was probably one of the strongest motivations for me to run for Congress. When he talked about, you didn't build your business. You didn't do that. The government did. And I'm going to turn this back over to you, John. But thanks again to Archer Automotive, trusted, reliable work, and somebody you can count on.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, Ted, I don't know how else to label this, so I just put it plain and simple from my perspective. The TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, I don't know about you, but I've had enough of it. I really have. And it's culminating with these attacks on the president. And of course, we had another nut job try to storm the president. And, I get tired of all this. And I know the media has to say it, allege this or allege that. I'm just going to say it, and it's just my opinion. It's pretty obvious the dude wanted to, if he could, he wanted to injure or kill the president and anybody associated with him. Now, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a prosecutor, but I think the American people can see it. I'm just get sick of it, Ted.
I think most Americans are. The TDS, when they started talking about Trump derangement syndrome, it was kind of a fad, or it was just kind of a joking thing. But it is a real syndrome out there. I know people, in fact, I just got back from D.C. last week, And there are people up there saying that they used to be friends with people that were Democrats, but they've disowned them. Not the Republicans didn't, but the Democrats did, and just said, if you support Trump, I can't have anything to do with you. And they are drawing the red line in the sand. Unlike Obama, they're standing behind it, and they're going to back that up. And then when you get the rhetoric coming out of Washington D.C., remember a couple months, maybe 6 months to a year ago, when the Democrats were on the rant with the baseball bat and they're going to beat up people, they're bringing harm to people. Maxine Waters saying, if you see somebody out of this administration in a restaurant or out in a movie, you get in their face. You do that. Matt Gaetz had milkshakes and stuff thrown on him when he was out in his district. People were just violent about that. You think of Sarah Huckabee Sanders when she was in I think it was I don't want to say the wrong name, but it was a restaurant up in the Virginia area, the Red Rooster or something like that. They ran her out of that restaurant. In fact, they just did it again in Arkansas. So the violence is on the left. Yeah, it's on the left, and they don't back up. And Chuck Schumer says you're going to have blood on your hands, Neil Kavanaugh. These are the people that want to control America. And they're enlisting the useful idiots, the brown shirts, as Adolf Hitler did, and the SS enlisted the brown shirts to be their henchmen, the Antifas, the Black Lives Matter, these people that are sucked into these things. And so, yeah, we're in a dangerous situation in this country, and I'm like you, John. I'm tired of it.
Yeah, well, I was taping the ballroom or whatever it was, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I was going to watch it a little later, and I was doing something else on my computer when I saw the headline that Trump had to be evacuated and all of that. And I'd love to tell you that I was shocked by it and all that, but I'm actually sad this does not make my heart have joy. I was not surprised at all. And that bothers me in and of itself because, I expect this kind of stuff now from the left, and it just, it doesn't surprise me. And that really saddens me and pisses me off, to be frank.
Well, it does, but it's a growing trend. You go back, and I think I can't get over this one lady, Brittany Cooper. She's a professor at Rutgers University. Said it's time we start taking out white people. Or you look at the other rhetoric that's come on the game shows, or Jimmy Kimmel. I know you have something coming up on him, which is this is despicable. The guy should be taken off the air. And you look at when Charlie Kirk got assassinated, all the revelry and all the people that were happy, another MAGA dies, or when Hulk Hogan dies, another MAGA supporter dies. These are the people fomenting violence, and it goes up to all the way up to Barack Obama.
I posted a picture over the weekend on our Facebook pages. People should check it out.
That's good, as long as it wasn't Grandpa Booty.
Yeah. Well, the picture I posted was of a snapshot of Melania Trump and the president when apparently the security forces started coming straight towards them. She had a look on her face that no wife should ever have. And that was a look of like horror and concern for herself, I'm sure, but her husband, her family, and everybody in there. Nobody should have that. And then I heard that, Erica Kirk, I think that's her name. She was there at the thing. And I think she was sitting right beside the gentleman that does Fox and Friends in the morning now from Texas. I can't think of his name right this minute, but they were at the table and he talked about it, that she was in just total emotional distress because you can only imagine what she's been through and to that. And
I can't imagine.
It's just sad that that's the case, and nobody should have to go through that.
No, they shouldn't. They absolutely should. Not in America, not in a civil society, not somebody that supposedly follows the rule of the law. And, I'm going to be quiet because you got a lot to go over, but you're absolutely right. She should not have to go through that. And these people out there that are doing this kind of stuff, it is fomented by the politicians. And people that claim to be a comedian, but I don't see anything funny about any of those people. I don't watch any of those people, the Jon Stewarts and Jimmy Kimmels, and what's that other guy, Colbert?
Yeah,
Colbert?
he's, I guess, going to be gone before long. But the next day coverage after the event, after the attack at the correspondence dinner, was very predictable to me. The left talked about political violence. I'll give them that. And they
Right.
talked about security issues. Both of those are legitimate issues. I got no issue with that. But there was no acknowledgement of the role of them, especially the media and the leftists in general, of fomenting all this violence that is out there. Their role in it, they didn't mention at all. And that I'm not surprised by, but it does upset me. And I hate to keep saying it, but it pisses me off. I've just had enough of it, Ted.
So how do we change that, Don?
By educating, motivating, and activating people. That's all you and I can really do. And speak it
People
out
have to
on.
go to the polls. You have to go to the polls. All you have to do is look at what Barack Obama, Biden, and Harris have brought to this country in a short 15-year period of time. Look at how this country has changed under the rise of Barack Obama. And he's not gone away. Keep in mind, he and Eric Holder, they started the National Democratic Redistricting Committee. As soon as he got out of office, he and Eric Holder started that redistricting committee. Look at what's going on in California. Look at what's going on in Virginia. And they've been doing this all over the country. That's why you get Zohran Madani and the communists up in Albany, New York, and the communists in Seattle, Washington. And I don't use these words lightly. These people are claimed and avowed communists. And it goes back to Hillary Clinton with Saul Alinsky, who was a student of hers. And Barack Obama had his first fundraiser at Saul Alinsky's house. I mean, it's so evident. People don't want to believe it, but it's so evident of where they're at. And, we are at that divide in America, and people are picking sides right now. And if we can get through this peacefully, it'll be a wonderful thing and a blessing from God.
Well, you asked me that question about what can we do about it, and you and I think, are doing what we can do about it, and then some. And we need people's support, obviously, to do that. But at the same time, you've heard me repeat this over and over, but if I say it, it bears repeating. The American people, we the people, have to take responsibility for our collective government. We have to man the political ramparts, or we're going to have to man the real ones again. Even though people have a disdain for politics, I understand it, but you've got to participate. You've got to support causes and individuals that support the right way to go. We cannot absolve ourselves collectively as citizens of a republic, or we won't be able to keep it, like Benjamin Franklin warned us.
You really won't. And again, you look at the people who's fomenting this, news media, and I've seen it on both sides, but more on the left side, on your MSNBC or whatever it's called now. And the politicians themselves. I think of Maxine Waters. I think of Chuck Schumer. Um, what did just Hakeem Jeffers just said? We are at war with the Republicans. War is, when you go in and break things and people die. And, these people need to do self-reflection or inflections and figure out, what direction do they want to take this country? And do you really want those kind of supporters that are going to go out there and do violence? Or do you want to use the rule of law and squash these people and, focus on the issues? And this is where it comes, John, that divide between Republicans and Democrats. We can't go on this way. That is a divided nation. But that's been going on since Ben Frank or George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, and Jefferson. They were at each other's throat too, and it was just as ugly. But somehow they managed to work beyond that, and we have to do that today. I mean, we are an advanced civilization, supposedly, and we would think we could get our act together. And if we don't get it together, there'll be rough times to come. But that's why we've got to keep the majority we have in the House and the Senate and actually grow those, or this is going to go right back and start unwinding everything that's changed for good in this country.
Well, Ted, I can tell you one thing they could do today that would actually show that they understand, they being the progressive leftist Democrats in Congress and maybe a few holdout Republicans, they could stop this partial government shutdown that is because the money that they're holding up is actually designed, part of it, to pay, for instance, the Secret
Right.
Service. Because last night or Sunday night, they could have been killed, or I guess it was Saturday night, could have been killed as well by this, because if that guy, people hadn't really talked about this, if somehow that guy had actually gotten in the ballroom and started firing, not only could he have been hurt, but there was a packed house there. The Secret Service and the other officers would have had to respond. There would have been crossfire, and dozens of people could have been hurt or killed indiscriminately, including, guess who? Some Democrats that were there. Okay, so if you want, to me, I'll put that challenge out to them right now. If you want to show any concept of unity and any concept of doing the right thing, they need to put all that junk aside and stop this partial government shutdown ASAP this week, period.
You're absolutely right. But when it becomes of a political ideology and you want to win that fight, the Democrats getting killed in this fight would be collateral damage. That would be acceptable to them. To me, it's not acceptable for anybody to get killed over politics. You know what's interesting out of this? John Fetterman
Who
said
was
probably
there,
one
by
of
the
the
way?
smartest.
He was there.
Who said one of the smartest things I think I've heard in a long time from a politician. He goes, "This is all the more reason that we need to get the White House ballroom done because it's a closed environment. The Washington Hilton Convention Center, where this happened, that's where Ronald Reagan got shot too. So it's a security risk. But if you had the ballroom done, everybody is armed or heavily screened before they go in that. You won't get any arms in there. The only people with guns would be the Secret Service."
Well,
And
think
so
about
I agree with John Fetterman. Let's get this thing done and let's get the judges out of the way and just go ahead and build the dang thing.
Well, think about this, Ted. Today, the King and Queen of England are coming to America today. And they're going to have a state dinner tomorrow. And guess what? Where they're going to have it? In a dadgum tent. Because this ballroom should have been built years ago and should be now. Now, if it was, still under construction, which I guess it is, in some form or fashion,
Oh, yeah, it's under
it wouldn't be
construction.
ready. But think about that. The King of England is coming to America today and is going to have to be in a tent tomorrow. It's just insane.
Might as well be in the desert in a Middle Eastern country. Although those are nice tents, those big, they're elaborate. Again, you think of somebody like Eric Swalwell, who we won't have to think much about anymore. His goal was when he got in, they ought to tear it down. As soon as Trump gets it built and they get the majority back, tear it back down. I mean, that's the kind of moronic thoughts that people like him have. Instead of trying to embrace what's good about America, change the name if you really want to offend Trump, whatever they're going to call it. It's a shame that we have to host the King and Queen of England in a tent. Anyways, let's move on.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, I want to play a series of videos here before we get off of this story. But before I do, we might as well go ahead and take a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back and play them, because this first one I find extremely disgusting and troubling. And Ted, take us to break, and we'll come right back.
We appreciate Archer Automotive for coming on board, and we've got people all over the country watching us. And we ask over and over again, just if you like what we're doing and you want to get this message out, please pass this on to your email list and ask people to send in checks to help us stay on the air. We appreciate it. See you after the break.
Back.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, plus you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
And we're back on the 3 Ps, the Political Pirate Podcast with yours truly, the old salty dog, John Martin, and the captain of our pirate ship, Mr. Ted Yoho. Well, Ted, when we went to break, we were talking about the events that happened, the attempted, and I'm just going to say it like it is, another assassination attempt on President Trump. And of course, the guy was trying to cause as much damage as he possibly could. I'm not even really going to get into the gentleman himself, but I want to play a video right now, Ted. This is Jimmy Kimmel. This was Friday night in his monologue or in his act right before leading up to the Saturday night correspondence dinner, and we saw what happened. I want to play this. I hope it disgusts people as much as it does me. And then when we come back, I'll turn it back to you, Ted. Check this out.
All right, but before you play
Wait a
that,
minute. Okay.
I want people when you listen to
one?
this and you see this, I want you to think, what is going through this guy's mind, and is this even okay to say this kind of stuff? Watch this video, and we'll come back.
And of course, our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow. You know, Melania's birthday is on Sunday.
Anything? Like, anything you want to say about that?
Well, there you have it, Ted. He literally says that Melania Trump has the look of an expectant widower. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, what is funny about that? I mean, it's sick that to hear the audience laugh. You know, if you've ever been to any of those shows, there's a sign on both sides that says applause. When they flash that, you're supposed to applaud. So I'm sure they had to use that. But for people to applaud that and even show up for Jimmy Kimmel, I don't understand. But it just shows you how warped these people are that support these kind of people.
Well, you know, we played last Monday a video over in Ireland where a Catholic priest was before his congregation, and during the Mass, he was saying a prayer, and he said, well, and we pray, Lord, that you will take Donald Trump. I mean, this stuff is just outrageous to me. And, you know, what Jimmy Kimmel said is really unforgivable to me. It's wishing, I know it's supposed to be a joke. I get it. But especially when you consider the fact that she's almost been widowed now, this is for the third time, but the man actually took fire and has been threatened, and we probably more than we even know about. And to say that is just really inexcusable to me.
Well, you know, keep in mind the Iranian assassin that was trying to take out Trump. And I think it was like within a week of when that guy in South Carolina shot at Trump and killed a couple people or killed the one person in the audience. So these things are going on. Like you said, there's a lot more going on that we don't know about. And yeah, I'm going to stand behind this president. I don't like everything he's doing, but he's got the interests of this country at heart.
Yeah. That was actually in New Jersey, it's Butler, New Jersey. I think you said South Carolina, but that's all right. I want to make sure we're factual, Ted. That's my job.
I appreciate you keeping me on track, boss. That's why you're the captain, or that's why you're the salty dog.
I'm the row well and live guy. You know, that's what I'm doing. But you know, one of the more interesting comments that President Trump made, and he wanted to stay there, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But Trump was asked by, I think it's Steve Ducey or Peter. I get him confused.
Peter Ducey.
Peter Ducey. He was asked at a press conference that was held at the White House pretty much immediately after this attack against the president. Well, let's play it, and it speaks for itself because this is pretty interesting.
I ask respectfully, why do you think this keeps happening to you?
Well, you know, I've studied assassinations, and I must tell you, the most impactful people, the people that do the most, you take a look at the people, Abraham Lincoln, I mean, you go through the people that have gone through this where they got them. But the people that do the most, the people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones that they go after. They don't go after the ones that don't do much because they like it that way. And when you look at the people that have either, whether it was an attempt or a successful attempt, they're very impactful people. Just take a look at the names there, the big names. And I hate to say I'm honored by that, but I've done a lot. We've done a lot. We've taken this country, and we were a laughing stock for years. Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We've changed this country, and there are a lot of people that are not happy about that. So I think that's the answer.
What are your thoughts on what the president said there, Ted?
I think he's just straightforward. You know, he wanted to stay there and have the event, but he was wise not to. You just don't know who else is there. Do they have the room bombed or, rigged for something like that? He is a fighter, and I think that's what America likes. Through the adversities, and it goes back to that saying of Theodore Roosevelt's, "The man in the arena gets all the credit." He's willing to lay his life on the line, and he's done that over and over again. And I'm going to stick with him.
Well,
through thick and thin.
The president, throughout all of this attempts on his life and stuff, has been pretty consistent in that, he understands the threat of it. He's committed to finishing the job and being president. And he's said many times that it's the most dangerous job out there. But I think he's spot on about assassinations, that if you look at it, they tend to go after people who actually are making a difference, whether you agree with the difference or not, impactful people. But I go back to it and think about, as I said earlier, that picture, and look at it on our Facebook page of Melania Trump, sitting there just kind of in shock and bewilderment because, her husband's, her whole world is threatened by that. But you mentioned, Ted, that our president is a fighter. So I want to play one more video before we kind of move away from this subject. The president was asked about the events immediately after what happened, before he was whisked actually totally away from the event, because he is a fighter. Check this out.
Incredible. And we're going to reschedule. We're going to do it again. We're not going to let anybody take over our society. We're not going to cancel things out. We can't do that. We wanted to stay tonight. I will tell you, I fought like hell to stay. But it was protocol that said, please, sir, because they didn't know there was a lot of action going on, and they didn't know, could there be probably a lone shooter, but we'll find out. We'll find out very quickly. They have it very well under control. So I want to thank everybody very much. Again, the response time was really incredible.
He fought like hell to stay. He wanted to stay and finish the event, and now he's come out and said he's committed to let's do this event again in 30 days. We'll see if that's even possible. But Trump is a fighter, man. You love him, hate him, whatever. You got to give him that.
No, he definitely is that, and he's not willing to back down. And he is right, about impactful leaders. You look at Abraham Lincoln, you look at people before him that had attempts on their lives. George Washington, people wanted to kill him. The French, the British, and some Americans and the Indians. And you look at Theodore Roosevelt. He was somebody that was upsetting the apple cart in politics in New York City and Washington, and they didn't like him. You look at Ronald Reagan. You look at Gerald Ford. I mean, all these people that were standing up to go against the establishment are the ones that somehow gets tied into that. So, yeah.
And you got a group of people out there, Ted, I mean, that actually not only support this type of stuff, but actually cheer him on. From the guy that killed that executive of United Healthcare, he's been made a hero. The guy that assassinated Charlie Kirk, has a following and is a hero. this one of the biggest influencers now on YouTube is this guy that says we deserve
Right.
9/11, and the Democrats are surrounding, trying to get on his podcast that are running for office. It is just sadly unbelievable, but I guess I have to believe it. And even think about this, even the governor of Pennsylvania, who's a Democrat, who many people said should have been the choice for VP or president and might have won in the last election, Josh Shapiro, his whole family was targeted when they almost burned down the governor's mansion with him in it by a left-wing extremist that's supporting the Palestinian cause. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Well, it's time we get back to the basics and realize who we are as Americans and what America stands for. It's God, country, and family. It's the principles in the Constitution. It's our founding principles and our core values that's enshrined and protected by the Constitution. And we need to get back to those basics. If you break the rule of law, you're going to pay harshly for it. We're all for free speech, but that's garbage that Jimmy Kimmel put out there. He had to be taken off the air for that.
Yeah, well, it's gotten to the point to me, Ted, and I'll
We
say
need to
this,
go after their sponsors is what we need to do, and just say, get this
Absolutely.
garbage off the air.
Absolutely. But we need to, even if you're totally opposed to Donald Trump, I have no problem with that. I might not agree with you, but I have no problem with that. But anytime any of these elected people or people running for office say the word Hitler, fascist, dictator, because this young man, and I'm not even going to say his name, that attempted the assassination recently, the other night, he actually attended a No Kings rally, all that kind of stuff, we just have to be zero tolerance for that crap. And any political figure that condones that type of stuff should be disqualified by the American people, period.
Absolutely. I mean, they should be. And, it's sad to see our nation get to this point. And, let's get beyond this. And you do that by going to the polls. And you know what? There's a saying, success is inconvenient. If it wasn't, everybody'd be successful. So success in politics, in getting the country back on track, it's inconvenient. That means you'll have to go to maybe do some poll watching, get on a campaign and support a candidate, make phone calls. We would not have been in office had people not come out of the woodwork. One of them, Richard Cecile Fiegel from Archer Automotive, helping us and, making phone calls and, showing up at rallies. And it's inconvenient. Nobody wants to do it, but freedom is worth it.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about elections having consequences. I don't know if you remember this, but my headline I put on this first is Tax the Rich. What if they vote with their feet, Ted? Remember, and I want to play a video and we'll come back and talk about it. Remember this? We played it a couple of weeks ago, but I think it deserves playing again. Check this out.
When I ran for mayor, I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich. I'm thrilled to announce we've secured a pied-à-terre tax, the first in New York's history. This is an annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million, whose owners do not live full-time in the city. Like for this penthouse, which hedge fund CEO Ken Griffin bought for $238 million. This pied-à-terre tax is specifically designed for the richest of the rich, those who store their wealth in New York City real estate, but who don't actually live here. But even so, they're able to reap the huge financial rewards of owning property in, dare I say, the greatest city in the world. And most of the time, these units are sitting empty, since again, they don't actually live here. This is a fundamentally unfair system that hurts working New Yorkers. Now, it's coming to an end. This tax will raise at least $500 million directly for the city. It'll help fund things like free childcare, cleaner
Ted,
streets,
you
safer
talked
neighborhoods.
about it at the time we played that video. The gentleman that Mandami is talking about is a gentleman named Ken Griffin, who is the CEO of a company called Citadel. And you mentioned that he might actually, in a way, vote with his feet and come on down to Florida. We'd welcome him. But so what are your thoughts about that? Because they're talking about killing a major project, and I'll get into that in just a minute.
Yeah, I mean, they're killing the golden goose. The thing that's supporting them, they're killing. Go back to AOC. Remember when she first ran, and Amazon was going to go into the Brooklyn area and create 15 or 20,000 jobs, and she stopped that just because of the negative press that she brought to that. And Jeff Bezos says, "Heck with it, we'll go somewhere else where they want the jobs." She stopped 20,000 jobs. Do you think if people had those jobs with Amazon, that life might be a little bit better there? And I know you're going to talk more about Ken. And I've got some facts and figures here of what they're running out of there. And like you said, they're going to vote with their people, with their feet. The people that are getting taxed are going to vote with their feet in their pocketbook, as they are in California and other of these Marxist-run blue states.
Well, Ted, as usual, I have to tighten you up a bit because you're not giving AOC
You got to
enough
tighten
credit.
up.
You're not giving AOC enough credit because, she talked about that Amazon would fundamentally potentially change her district there, and she didn't want that. But she has fundamentally changed it now because now you've got like child sex trafficking there. You have all these illegal gambling sites to the point that legitimate businesses are having to close because you've basically got an open air drug market and stolen goods
And the
market.
brothels.
Yeah, it's her
open
district.
prostitution.
We did a story on it a while back. Her district has been fundamentally transformed since she's been there, no doubt about it.
I mean, look at L.A., California, and San Francisco, Oregon. All the open drug use and all that. They support this stuff, and then they complain about, oh, look at this. How did this happen? It's because of your policies. But Ken Griffin with Citadel, they were going to. Just the Citadel team members have paid nearly $2.3 billion in city and state taxes. $2.3 billion. And according to the spokesman, Mr. Beeson for Citadel, his boss has made $650 million in charitable contributions to New York City. And they're looking at leaving, I'm sure. And I don't blame them. And they're welcome to come to Florida, but keep your politics. If it's New York politics, don't bring them here.
Well, this Mr. Beeson you talked about, he's the CEO of the company, and he did put out an email. I won't get into every bit of it, but he said this in the email to his company-wide email. He said it's shameful that he, talking about Mandami, used Ken's name as an example of those who supposedly aren't carrying their fair share of the burdens associated with New York City's often costly and wasteful spending. Well, now they're talking about canceling a project they were going to build up there that is literally almost $1 trillion. It's in the hundreds of billions of dollars and would employ countless construction jobs and then permanent jobs. The very jobs they need to revitalize New York are going to maybe come to Miami.
Sure, 6,000 highly paid construction jobs. It's not just a construction job. That's the food vendors. It's the people supplying the lumber, the elevators, the electricians, and all that. And then it's going to create 15,000 permanent jobs. And again, here you got liberal progressive ideologies driving out businesses. And the whole time they're saying, we want to help the people. No, you don't. You want to help yourself, and it's all about power. And it goes back to the tenets of communism. To each give according to your ability and each receive according to your need.
Well, Ted, you talking about New York and all, I lived up there for about 5 or 6 years in the mid 80s and worked construction up there. And you're right. It is not just the jobs itself for construction workers, but when you have a major project going on like that, I worked on several that had thousands of union construction workers up there. Union. So there you go for the union. But the mom and pops around that project, the amount of money us construction workers spent at the coffee shops, at the delis, at the bodegas, and all that kind of stuff just uplifted that whole neighborhood during that time of that project. And you're talking about very small businesses that really had a windfall from that.
Well, they sure do. I can tell it rubbed off on you. You can even say bodega.
Bodega, brother. Yeah, it was a good time. I learned a lot. I see, that's the thing. I actually love New York. I love that city. I don't know if I'd want to be there right now. It was a great time in my life. I have a incredible respect for average, everyday working people in New York City. They are literally the backbone of this country and in many, many ways. And what was very interesting, because I'm a good old boy from the South, is if you look at like the military, especially like World War II, and I'm not downplaying any other contribution from people anywhere else, but some of the greatest soldiers we had in World War II were Southern boys and New Yorkers. If you look at it, really, I'm historically accurate on that, I know.
I know you are. If you said it, it's got to be accurate. But it's you said something very important there, as you always do. But it's the hardworking people of America. You know, I don't care what your background is. If you're a ranch hand or you're out there digging ditches, I dug ditches for a long time until I learned I didn't want to dig them anymore, and I moved on up the ladder. But it's the people out there every day going to work. Can you imagine? This is civil society. If the trash people decided we're not picking up trash anymore, and they have, they've gone on strikes, or the hospital worker or the helper to the hospital worker, the nurse assistant. If these people just threw up their hands and say it's not worth it anymore, where would America be? Or the police officers? And so it takes all of us working, doing our part. Now we want government to do their part. And, that's why we've got to run these people out. I just see a feed coming up here on Michelle Scherfulus McCormick out of Florida that got run out of Congress because she took $5 million in fraud against American taxpayers. And then you're Ilhan Omar up in New York or Minnesota. And anyways, I'm getting off our
I don't know if you saw
here.
this or not, but I know it won't shock you. Mentioned that Congresswoman that she resigned. Of course, people need to look at this, and one of the reasons they resigned, like they did her and Swalwell and some others, is because they're protecting their golden parachute. But she literally, Ted, filed to run for re-election about 3 or 4 days before she resigned because she was coming up on that committee hearing about it and ethics.
Yeah,
committee.
the ethics committee.
And she literally she had the audacity to file for re-election in the middle of all that.
Well, what I've learned from the professional politician is they know no shame. You're not going to shame them out of office. The only way you're going to get them out of office is something egregious like this, where they have to get out, and they're only getting out to protect themselves, because if they go through the hearings and all that, it'll be a lot worse. But if they get out, they cancel the hearings and the on the ethics committee. And I know people that were fined, upstanding people that had charges brought up against them, false charges. They had to spend over $700,000 to defend themselves, and that's the political war you get in up there. That's warfare, and it's why I keep a lot of good people out of there.
Yeah, I understand. Well, you alluded to this video we're about to play earlier, but Obama, he actually supported both overtly and covertly Mandami, because apparently his advisors were giving him that. And when I thought about this video and in conjunction with what Mandami just recently said that we played, basically he's getting his cue from Obama, because Obama really set up what Mandami said basically a decade later. Check this out.
You were successful, somebody along the line gave you some help. There was a great teacher somewhere in your life. Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we have that allowed you to thrive. Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you got a business, that you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
Well, Ted, you mentioned, I'm going to turn it back to you, because I maintain that what Obama said there is an inspiration to guys like Mandami.
Oh, absolutely. If you can grow the government bigger and the government becomes your nanny and takes care of you and suckles you, you're going to get closer to it. And there's two things. When Obama said that, 5 days for his inauguration. We're 5 days away from fundamentally transforming America. That scared me. That shocked me. And then when he had the gall to say, these people that think they built their business, you didn't build your business. You had all these other people. You had your taxes paying the government to allow you to create your business. That's the same mindset of Tim Kaine out of Virginia, former governor twice, I think, and a vice president candidate for Hillary Clinton, to go on and say, government is what gives you your rights. Give me a break. And one last thing on Ken Griffin. They're taking a play out of Saul Alinsky's book that you want to go after people that are successful and shame them in public. That's right out of the stigmatizing the rich by name is popular on the left these days in the manner advised by Saul Alinsky. So who's a student of Saul Alinsky? Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and the rest of the liberal progressives. Folks, that's communism knocking on our door. And if you don't think that's true, look at these cities going on. And then with that, they'll take anybody in there that can divide this nation up and weaken it. And that's why you get a Muslim mayor in New York City. And I don't want to attack Muslims. They have the right to practice their religion, but you're not going to infringe upon the United States of America. Practice it within the confines of our laws. But that's why you get these kind of people elected, because this movement is growing, this anti-American movement. And this goes back to the youngest generation. They're the ones that are going to fight this off. And that only is going to happen if they're educated. And that's what we do. That's why we're here. That's the only reason we're doing this, John.
Well, absolutely. Well, Ted, people like Obama, now Mandami, and stuff like that, they have a right to say what they want to say, preach what they want to preach, all that kind of stuff. What really scares me about it is the people not understanding what it takes to make America and how unique we are. The people believing that you didn't build it, that kind of stuff. That's what scares me the most, because I'm not trying to combat necessarily Obama. We're not going to defeat him in that sense. I'm trying to combat ignorance and apathy. The ignorance of people that think that it's government that is the reason why we exist, that don't understand that the Constitution was designed to protect us from the overreach of government, not empower government. That it's a team effort. To build a skyscraper takes everything from the top person with the capital down to the working stiffs like I was up there literally building. It's a team effort to build America. That's what people need to understand.
It takes hard work and commitment. Ask Richard Fiegel if the government helped him build his business at Archer Automotive. Ask the Pritchetts on Pritchett Trucking. I had the honor to talk with Marvin Pritchett, and he built that thing up from nothing. And these people, these are the backbone of America. They build these businesses, they employ thousands of people or hundreds of people, and they build the economy. And we wouldn't be who we are as a nation. And so we ought to applaud these people. Ken Griffin of Citadel, I'm happy for that guy. And I want to know what he did to get where he is, because if he can do it, I can do it. And that's the greatness of America. If you can sit, you have the same opportunity as he did. You might have to work a little bit harder. But it's these people like the Madamis think, oh, the rich are getting away with something. The rich work their tails off, and we already talked about all the jobs they're going to create. He needs to get out of here. Send him back to, where did he come from? Uganda, I think, right?
I think so.
Uganda needs some help.
Well, you mentioned all those great people, and I appreciate people are joining our team, and we need more to join our team, because we're going to educate, motivate, and activate people. Well, let's switch gears just a little bit in the midterms. So we got to talk about that every so often. I meant to try to talk about this last Friday, but we couldn't get to it. They had this big redistricting vote in Virginia, and everybody's up in arms about it, and I agree with it and all of that. And we'll see how it works out. But, there was some interesting takes on that. The vote was 51.5% for and 48.5% against it. In other words, leaving things as they were. But the interesting part about that, Ted, is for the midterms is the Democrats poured money into that. The Republicans didn't spend really a dime until the last few weeks of it. And, they ran this incredible campaign for it. Obama was there getting involved in it and all that stuff. And they squeaked out a victory. And now it's going to be a court challenge. I actually think that there's some positives, not in the outcome, but in the fact that almost 50% of the people were opposed to it and didn't have all that much push behind them.
No, I agree with you on that. I mean, the Democrats put out a lot of money in there and a lot of time. And this is interesting because as you brought up about Madami, Obama wanted to come out and support him in the beginning, but he held back, because he just wasn't sure that he didn't want people knowing he was working behind the scenes. But he's been working with the Democrat Progressive Party all along, which is a communist organization. And now that Madami won and some of the other leftists or Marxist communists, like the lady in Albany, New York, won in that mayor race, now that he sees this momentum, he's happy to be out on the street. Remember he was there with Abigail Spanberger, supporting her. Now he's supporting this redistricting. And keep in mind what I said, as soon as he got out of office, he and Eric Holder created the National Democratic Redistricting Committee. Their goal was to go in and do exactly what they're doing now. And then they get behind these leftist leaders that they can promote. Your AOCs, again, it's a useful idiot sometimes, but it works because it furthers their agenda. And this is what we're up against. He is a danger to this country, and he wants to tear it down. And, I don't wish him any ill harm, but I wish he'd go back to Kenya or wherever he came from.
Or Kansas, for that matter, or Hawaii, or wherever, anywhere.
I don't want him in the U.S.
But I want to play something here, an oldie goldie, because we talk about the midterms. Well, there was this video ad, and I got to tell you, it's the best. I say this with all sincerity. To this day, I think it's the best political ad I've ever seen. But I'm going to play it, and then I'm going to come back and ask Ted if he remembers this guy. Check this out.
Politicians, they're like pigs feeding at the trough. Career politicians got us in this mess, but all they do is throw mud at each other. I'm Ted Yoho. I'm a conservative businessman and a veterinarian. The career politicians have given us $16 trillion in debt. It's time for new leadership. I'll repeal Obamacare and balance the budget. And after 8 years in Washington, I'll come home. Let's put the mudslinging aside, run the pigs out of the trough, and put America first. I'm Ted Yoho, and I approve this message. How about you?
I got to tell you, and I'm saying it with all sincerity, my captain, that is still to me the best ad I've ever seen.
That was a lot of fun. That video came together about 8 hours before we shot it, and I appreciate you saying that. Carolyn just got back from D.C. She was at the First Ladies Luncheon, and people brought up that commercial. So it's got longevity. And I want to thank Dennis Holt in Archer, out in Archer, where Archer Automotive is, for allowing me to use his pigs in that. Appreciate it. And also that was Dustin Rhodes, the wrestler in there, the guy with the goatee, the big guy. And then I had two family members in there, my brother Todd and his son Spencer.
Yeah. Well, I know the pigs were in good hands with you guys because, you are a vet of many wars, but certainly the vet of taking care of pigs and hogs. And you did a good job of taking care of them when you were up there. And we're trying to get the pigs out right now, Ted. That's one of the reasons.
We are. And I lied in that commercial because I said we were going to repeal Obamacare and get the debt under control. And I failed miserably on those.
Yeah. Well, you tried your best, sir. And we're still doing it. We're still doing it right now in a different way. Well, I want to play one more video before we close out the show. This was Hakeem Jeffries this week on Fox News he was asked about what they're going to do if the Democrats take control in the midterms of the House. And listen to what he said.
Hakeem Jeffries, good to have you back on Fox News Sunday this morning, sir.
Good morning.
Okay, so you said last night, in the wake of this, you said it's time to end the political violence. How do we do that, sir?
First of all, I'm thankful for the bravery and the heroism of the Secret Service. Make sure that the Secret Service gets paid.
Well, I've talked to some folks in GOP House leadership who think that there will be more motivation.
Well, Ted, apparently I didn't chop that correctly, but the part I wanted to play was when she asked him, if the Democrats take the House back, will you impeach Donald Trump? And he said, basically we're not worried about that. We're not going to focus on that. And I say to that, total BS. Don't believe that for a second. Because if they actually take the House back, I think it'll be the first thing they do. Ted, what are your thoughts?
They've already got bills proposed already for that. They're already drafted. So, yeah, that'll be one of the first things that happens. And he will be impeached if they get that back. And does America really want to go through that again? Does the American people really want to go through 2 years of crippling a president, moving forward, and everything they talk about that they've got to, we want to stop ICE from being funded because they're attacking American citizens, and they go after Renee Good and the other fellow that got he died. He got shot, and I don't mean to discredit him because I can't remember his name, but anybody that gets shot, you feel bad for. They shouldn't have been there or been in that situation. But the only reason they were in that situation was because of the issue or the policies of the Biden administration. And they all talk about rule of law. Give me a break. If they were for rule of law, those borders would have been closed. And now Hakeem Jeffries wants to have comprehensive immigration reform. That's a buzzword, meaning comprehensive means it'll never happen, and if it does happen, it's going to be amnesty for all. So no, they created the problem. We need to clean it up, and that's what Trump is doing, and we need to support him. Yeah, there's a lot of things that he's doing that we probably don't like, but there's a lot of good that we have to for the survival of this nation. And we've got our 250th anniversary coming up for this nation. And it is our generation to make sure that we can go on to another 250. And it's going to be tough. Success, you got to work to be successful. And so I'm counting on everybody out there to help this happen.
Well, it really comes down to a Shakespearean quote, to be or not to be. And that is the question. And it's up to us to make that decision as American people. I still stand by that. We have got to take our country back from our own ignorance and apathy. I've been saying that for years. It's up to us. If we don't do it, who the heck is? And so I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. Please like what we're doing, share what we're doing far and wide, support our sponsors. Take us out, Ted.
I appreciate everybody tuning in. We're going to have more on Friday and go over some of this stuff and how do we get out of this mess? What's at stake? How do we get out of it? And we want to encourage you to visit Archer Automotive. Their phone number is 352-495-2485. And go out there and get some good country service on your vehicle in a good way. I mean, they do a great job. Great people. Take care. We'll see you Friday. God bless.
Peace out, everybody.